All right. Welcome, everyone, to the evening session of how to launch your mastermind group in 30 days. So this is a live webinar presentation. We actually did an afternoon version of this just a few hours ago and got some great feedback on the content. And I know that if you're here tonight, you're going to enjoy this as well. So whether you're just starting or thinking of starting a mastermind group, or you are maybe already actively involved in one, you're going to learn something here tonight. And so I'm excited to bring this to you on how to launch your mastermind group. So I've got some free content I'm going to give away, some things that I use in my mastermind group meetings that I think you guys are going to find valuable. And also I got some free giveaways that I'm going to do as well. But before we get started here, as people are entering the room and the room is beginning to fill up, I'd like for you to just take a moment, say hi in the chat, and tell me your first name and where you're watching this webinar from. Earlier today, we had people from London and California and up north in Michigan and Minnesota and down in Florida where I'm from and over in Texas and all over. So just curious, maybe just give me your first name and where you are watching this webinar from. So take a moment and do that right now in the chat, and we'll get started here in just a minute. We're just going to let a few more people fill in, and then we'll get underway. People coming into the room right now. We're about to get started. I want to say hi to Peggy from Pennsylvania. There's Philip right here in Jacksonville, Florida. I met Philip for lunch not too long ago, so I think that's you, Philip. I've got Antoinette from Delaware, Greg from Indianapolis, Deanna from North Arkansas, Rocky from Minnesota, and the list just keeps on coming in. I can't keep up with it here. Kim from Canada, New Brunswick. And I've got Cindy from British Columbia, Canada, and got Rocky from Minnesota, Dee from North Arkansas, another from British Columbia, Canada, in San Jose, California. So thank you all for being here tonight. I am excited to cover this topic, and I've packed it full of content. So I hope you're ready. It's probably a good idea to grab a piece of paper. I try not to put too many bullet points in my slides, but I do have some things that you're probably going to want to write down that's related to running your mastermind group or even launching a mastermind group from my own experience of now being in one for the last couple of years. And so I'm excited to share this with you. In fact, we did an afternoon session of this very same webinar, had a great turnout, great feedback, and people were energized and excited. In fact, you can read some of their comments over on the Facebook fan page, which I'm going to let you in on in just a minute. So I just wanted to open up my video, let you know that I am here. This is not a recorded video. I'm here in person, right here inside my home office, where I spend most of my week working, blogging and writing and recording podcasts and figuring out how to help more people get their message out there, grow their businesses, and I'll be sharing some more of that in here in just a little bit. But hopefully, wherever you are, you're having a great fall. I know for me, I'm a Floridian, so it's just starting to cool off. The last 2 days, we've actually only got into the 70s, which has been pretty phenomenal for us. We've had a really hot August and even September, pretty much staying in the 90s most of the time. So wherever you're watching from, I hope you're having a great fall season, as I am. So tonight I have got lots to share with you. I'm going to share with you tips on launching a mastermind group. I'm going to give you tips on if you come here and you say, I've never been a part of one, I don't know, in fact, what a mastermind group's all about. What is it? Why would it benefit me? Is it just an extra thing to put on my calendar, or is it really something of value? And so hopefully tonight you're going to get those questions answered. I'm going to go through this content that I've put together that's really packed into helping you better understand mastermind groups and how you could launch one, or just make yours better. I had a couple people earlier in this afternoon session that said, thank you so much. You gave me several tips I can use with my already existing mastermind group to make it better. So I'm excited to be here with you tonight. We got a packed out room and lots of fun. So we're just going to jump in. So I want to, first of all, some of you, and every time I do a webinar, there's people who jump on here, maybe they saw it on Twitter or over on Google Plus or Facebook, and they don't know anything about me, and you're like, who is this guy? Well, I am just someone who used to be a high school teacher who over time began to start this thing called blogging back in 2009. And my very first blog was a career coaching blog. And still to this day, you can find that first blog at jonathanmilligan.com. And in 2009, when I started that, by the time I got to about 2011, I'd created 12 different income streams or income buckets related to a career coaching type blog, which afforded me the opportunity to do my dream job, and that is to work from home, to use my passion for teaching others and serving others in a different venue than just in a standard classroom, which allows me the portable lifestyle business that I'm able to impact people with my message and with my products and services, and not necessarily tied into like a classroom. So in 2011, I started getting a lot of people saying, well, how did you do that? How did you create these different income buckets? How are you blogging or earning income with a blog? How do you do that? And so I decided to start blogging your passion. And so now we have a university over there. It's a full university with 101, 201, and 301 level bloggers that can be a part of it. And basically we walk you through from very beginning stages of what is WordPress to how do you actually turn your hobby blog into a business. And so we walk people through that. And then those are some places I've been featured in, on Entrepreneur on Fire a little bit earlier this year, Michael Hyatt, Lifehacker, Business Week, so on and so forth. So that is a little bit about me. But here it's important, before I get in and start really giving you some of the nuts and bolts, that you understand the context of where I'm coming from tonight. Because in late 2012, I began to see something in my business that was concerning me. And by that I mean I had successfully figured out how to work from home. I mean, right here, I'm in my home office. This is where I work. Probably spend too much time in here. There's often times that I'll spend the morning at Panera or go somewhere else just to get out of the house and work somewhere else than just at home. But that's a lot of people I talk to, that's their dream. You know, if I could just work from home, work when I want to work, control the when, where, and how of my work, that's what I want to do. And so I was really passionate about two things. One, working from home, and two, scaling everything. And so in 2010, I created my first online product called Job Search Mastermind. And that product began to grow over time. More people began to purchase it and use it to help them in their job search. And I began to think, man, this, creating products online, I can spend a lot of work and effort creating a product, and then people purchase it for months and years to come while I can be doing something else. And so I love this idea of scalability where I wasn't just trading time for dollars. And so I threw everything in that arena, and I started more courses, created more courses on jonathanmilligan.com. Then I launched Blogging Your Passion, started creating blogging courses. And so when I got to the end of 2012, I found myself feeling two things. One, I began to felt disconnected from the audience I was trying to help. And two, I felt isolated because I was working from home and I wasn't getting the community, the feedback, the encouragement, the accountability to get where I wanted to go. So here's where I was, okay? I had climbed the ladder and reached where I wanted to go, but where I was and where I needed to go, there was this gap. And what got me to where I was not going to get me to that next level. And what I quickly realized is the only way that I was going to grow to the next level was to get into community. And so in early 2013, I chose a word that was going to be my theme for the year. I scratched all my ideas of having a bunch of New Year's resolutions and deciding to try to have a bunch of yearly goals, and I said, I'm just going to choose a word. And that word I chose was connection. And so in February, just 2 months later, I launched out, and I'm going to share with you my exact process for how I did that. I launched out and started my own mastermind group. And now, 18 to 20 months later, I can't even get it correct, but in this upcoming February, it'll be exactly 2 years. It's been phenomenal, the results that I've seen and my group members have seen when you get a group of people together who are more passionate about giving and investing into other people than what they're going to receive out of it. An amazing thing happens. Because here's the truth. All of us together are way smarter, way better than any one of us apart. And when you can be a part of a group who genuinely care for one another, who genuinely want to help one another, awesome things are about to happen. I can tell you that from experience. I remember just a couple months into my mastermind group, I had one of the group members say, you know what, Jonathan, if you had a tragedy, I would stop what I was doing and I would come to Florida where you are. That's how much our group had bonded and gotten together. And so I'm hoping to share some of those tips and strategies. Again, if you're here and you're just getting in here, then feel free to ask your questions. You can ask your questions in two places. First of all, in the webinar room, they're just to the right. I'm pointing left, but I think it's correctly on your screen. But you can give me your questions as we go through this. I will circle back around and answer as many questions as I can about mastermind groups and from my own experience. I don't know everything, but I can share with you what we've done, which I hope is a powerful thing. So that's kind of where we're headed and where we're going. So before we go too much further, let me just fill you in on this. I'm going to do a free giveaway. If you've ever been a part of any of my webinars, either from jonathanmilligan.com or bloggingyourpassion.com, I love doing giveaways. And so here's the giveaway we're going to do tonight. And just a little bit after I get through the main part of this content, we get toward the end, I am going to give somebody here tonight that's live free access, free lifetime access to a brand new course that I've created that is called Circle of Wisdom, a mastermind group launch plan. There's over 35 videos that walk you through every step of a mastermind group, and I've even created some bonus videos and training as well. So here's what you need to do just to enter in and get access to this. Go over to facebook.com/Jonathan, the letter P, Milligan, Jonathan P. Milligan. And when you get over there, you're going to see the first post. In fact, let me jump over there and I'll show it to you. on your screen, you're going to see the very first post here. It says, hit share or comment below for a chance to win free access to my new online course, How to Launch a Mastermind Group. And so all you need to do is come down here, hit the share button, and or jump into the comments that are happening here and comment, share, and then I'm going to come back in a little bit and I'm going to randomly select somebody to get free access, free lifetime access to this How to Launch a Mastermind Group course. Pretty awesome. I'm excited about doing that. All right, so let me start with something that in that time of isolation that I was feeling in early 2013, I came across a powerful quote that has stayed with me ever since. And it's one of those quotes that's so impactful that it'll stay with you for the rest of your life. And this has been that quote for me. C.S. Lewis, he was actually in a mastermind group, a writer's group, called the Inklings. Now, C.S. Lewis was the writer of the Chronicles of Narnia, and in that same group was J.R.R. Tolkien, who's the writer and creator of The Lord of the Rings, which is pretty awesome. I mean, what an awesome group to be a part of, a mastermind. But this is what he said. C.S. Lewis said, the next best thing to being wise oneself is to live in a circle of those who are. You see, when I read that, I realized something. I was not living in a circle of wisdom. I was isolated, I was detached, and disconnected. And that's a dangerous place to be in. Because even if you are at a successful place right now, maybe you're doing your dream job, if you're isolated and disconnected, if you're disconnected from your audience that you're trying to serve, and you're isolated from your peers, that's a dangerous place. You are becoming stagnant. You're like a pool that is still and it's not being stirred up, and we know the result of that. So that's where I felt like I was. And so I know at that moment I needed to do something. And so I quickly moved to form a mastermind group. So let me walk you through. I really tried to work hard to distill this down to 4 main areas. So if you were going to launch your group within the next 30 days, we're coming up on the end of September. So if you say, hey, by the end of this next month, I want to be living in a circle of wisdom. I want to surround myself with other passionate people who are heading in the same direction as I am. Then here are the steps that I'm going to recommend that you take. First of all, and I've labeled this by week since there are 4 steps, I would say week 1 is about learn. There are some things that you are going to need to learn. Don't just jump in. I've seen this happen with other people because I've received the emails and they've told me how frustrated they are. Don't just try to get some warm bodies into a mastermind group. It's not like putting a call out there to your Facebook friends and you grab your cousin and then you got your neighbor across the street, or there's this person at church. And I'm not saying that some of those people can't be part of your mastermind group, but it's not about just getting some warm bodies together. And you're going to really understand this as we dive deeper into this material. But you have to, in fact, learn some things in order to know how and who should be a part of your mastermind group. Okay? So I'm going to share with you the single success factor, and then I'm going to share with you some what I call 5 questions that you need to learn or you need to seek answers for. So the first one that I want to talk about is the one single factor that determines success. Can it be that one single factor can determine success or failure for a mastermind group? And my answer is yes. Here is the one single factor that's going to determine whether your group's successful or not. And here's the word: generosity. You have to be able to create or have generosity become the currency of your group. If generosity becomes the currency of your group, powerful things begin to happen. And that's what I've seen in my own group, is when everybody in the group begins to think about the needs of other people first, then powerful things can begin to happen. There's a great book that I've read over this last summer, and I knew of this person beforehand because I've used some of his strategies in my own online business, but it's a book by Jeff Walker called Launch. And there's an interesting chapter actually towards the end of the book that's called Creating a Business You Love. And in that, he talks about the mastermind principle. And I want to just read you a quote that he said that resonated with me because it's the exact experience that I've had. He said, "A great mastermind has great people who are givers. These are people who focus on creating value for others before they look to take value. This is the very essence of a mastermind. Everyone is there to focus on helping their fellow members, and they know their rewards will naturally come as part of the process." You see, that is so fundamental, but so counterintuitive to the way most mastermind groups happen. Most mastermind groups, they get into the group and immediately they're thinking, how is this going to benefit me? When you need to flip it on its head and convince or make sure that you have people in your group who are there to just give and invest in other people. There's a good friend of mine, his name's Dennis McEntee. He's actually in my mastermind group. And he told me a concept that has profoundly impacted me, and I always remember it and I thank him for it. And this is what he said. He said this: "Jonathan, be the biggest giver in every relationship." And I have seen him model that, and it's become my own motto. What would happen in your life and in your business if you just decided to not have a scarcity mentality, but to have an abundance mentality, and decide to become the biggest giver in every relationship? What would happen if a group of 5 or 6 individuals surrounded by a common purpose decided that they want to be the biggest giver in the group, that they want to be the biggest giver in every relationship? Powerful things begin to happen. So if you're just joining us, I see many more people coming into the room. Feel free to ask your questions. As I get to the end, I'm going to answer as many questions as I can about mastermind groups. We're talking about the first step, which is about the things that you need to learn about a mastermind group. So second thing I want to talk about is 5 questions that you must answer. Now I'm going to go through these quickly. They're not going to be on your slides. You may want to jot them down, but I think these questions are really important and essential. The first question is, where am I headed? Or maybe I should turn around and say, where are you headed? Where are you headed? Do you know the direction you're trying to go? Are you trying to launch a speaking career? Are you trying to be an author? Are you looking to start up a business? Are you wanting to become a pro blogger or a full-time blogger? I mean, I don't know what it is that you want to do, but where is it that you're trying to go? Because that is going to be so very important. Number 2 is, where do I need to grow? What specific areas do you need to grow in? Do you want to publish a book, start a business, launch a speaking career? Where is it that you need to grow? And I say, well, why is this about me? I thought you said it's about being a giver. Well, it's very important. When we talk about this, when we get to how do you bring people onto your mastermind group, because I'm going to share with you kind of the interview process that I used. But the reason you need to think about this concept, or answer this question, where do I need to grow, is because other people that are going to be joining your group, they've got areas they need to grow in, and it's going to be surrounded around a common purpose. For example, for my group, we are all trying to grow our online platforms. And so we've got members in the group who, one in particular is a editorial director of a book publisher. So he provides insight to the rest of our group on how do you write a winning book proposal, or how do you get your book published. What are the steps there? And so that's a great resource. Two of the other individuals in the group, they travel all over the country and speak. So they really are in the game with doing a lot of traveling and speaking. Some of them were wanting to leverage and get online. They're wanting to create more online courses, launch podcasts, get better at blogging. And so since that's been my experience, that's where I'm able to contribute to them on helping them understand the online marketing aspect of the business. And so as you can see, you identifying the areas you need to grow and then adding members to your group, it becomes a benefit for the whole group. Here's another question, is what exactly is a growth friend? Now, that might not be a question that you're thinking right now, but I can tell you this is why it's so important that you add members to your group who challenge you, inspire you, encourage you, give you feedback, accountability, because you want to surround yourself with growth friends. We all know those people, right? We know those people who, when we spend some time with them, man, we are energized. We look at them and think, man, they are so smart. I love being around them. I'm challenged. I'm stretched every time I'm around them. Those are growth friends. Another question you need to learn or ask is, should my group be local or virtual? I would say that local is ideal, but for some of us, depending on the purpose of your group, you may not be able to be local. Virtual may be a better option. I know for me, and maybe some of you that are on this webinar right now, you may be where I was. I go to a church who they have several weekend services, and they run a couple thousand on the weekend. And I have yet to meet, and I know a lot of people in the church, I've yet to meet one person who's trying to do what I'm doing. And I don't know of one person who's trying to build an online platform through blogging and online marketing and podcasting, that sort of thing. I don't know of anyone. And I honestly don't have people that I'm just starting to meet some people actually in my local area, but it's hard, it's difficult. So what happened? Virtual group. I have group members who are in Texas, in South Carolina, in Colorado, in Michigan. A group member in the Netherlands. I've got a group member in the California, Dallas, Texas. They're everywhere, and they can bring incredible value to our group because we're not dependent on whether they're here locally or not. So if you want to chat more about virtual groups, I'd be happy to do that here in a little bit. Last question, we're going to move on. How many people should be in my group? I think it's important you think about that. I think quality is better than quantity. It's not that, oh, my group's successful because I got 12 people. Well, maybe those 4 people that you put in that group is where you need to start and what you need to be doing. So this first step is all about learn. All right, okay? So let's move to step 2. So week 2 is the word listen. Now there are some things, this is the important part here. There are some things that you're going to need to listen for when you're potentially looking at adding people into your mastermind group. And I think, I didn't realize this at the time, actually until later. One of the group members that's in my mastermind group, he is a PhD. He is a professor at a large university, and he actually teaches entrepreneurship in graduate programs. And he said, Jonathan, he said, I have been teaching and forcing my graduate students to get into mastermind groups, and I've only had marginal success. He said, but I have to tell you that what you did, your onboarding process to mastermind groups, just blew me away. And he said, the process that you had, it just the way that you're doing mastermind groups is so unique. He said, you've got to get this out there to more people. And I was like, oh, wow. So that's the first time I really thought about it. And then I began to look, I know exactly why it's different. And here's why it's been different. Because before I started doing my career coach blog, I was an executive recruiter. And so literally I would spend 10 different times in my week where I would sit down and I would interview people that were unhappy with their job. And so I got real crafty at interviewing. I could sit down and quickly I could read body language, I could read their intentions, I could tell people's motives, if they were telling me the truth or not. I mean, it sounds funny, but when you do that for 6 or 7 years and you do it with 10 people every week, you begin to get really good at a very specific skill, and that for me was interviewing. And so I took some of that process. Now, it's not as intense. I'm going to actually share it with you in just a minute. It's not as intense as I might be making it sound, but I just put in this process of finding the right members for my group. And so that's what I want to talk to you about for the next few minutes is the mastermind group interviewing process. So I'm going to quickly go over some steps. You can jot some of these down if you want a step-by-step of exactly what I did. So here is the first step I did. Go to where your potential members are already hanging out. It sounds so simple, but it's so profound. Where are the potential members already hanging out? Is it at a conference? Is it at a local networking event? Is it behind a paid membership site? Is it in a forum somewhere online? Is it in a private Facebook group where people share similar values? I mean, right now you may be having kind of an aha moment of, that's it, I need to go to where my potential members are already hanging out. Now here's a couple of ideas. So I decided, after looking at many different, I decided for me, the group that I wanted to hang around was in Platform University. If you know anything about Michael Hyatt and his book Platform, he really has opened up a community of people who are passionate about building their message online. And so I decided, I got in that forum, I decided this is another great place is Dan Miller's 48days.net. That's another great passionate community of people who are givers, people who have a desire for something more in life than just the 9 to 5, and they really want to pursue their creative work. They want to pursue work they're passionate about. So if you're not a part of 48days.net, that's a great community to be part of. Actually, my Blogging Your Passion blog, way before I even started that blog, started as a group inside of 48 Days. And there's some phenomenal people there. There's just a couple places, but maybe you know of a forum. Maybe it's a LinkedIn group. There's all kinds of places online and offline where you can find people. So this is what I did. I went to where I believed that the group members had similar values and they had similar mission and purpose of what they wanted to do. They didn't have to be exactly like me. In fact, I didn't want them to be exactly like me. And I went in there and I actually posted in the forum, I posted a questionnaire. I said, hey, I am forming a mastermind group of other experienced platform builders, and if you would like to be a part of one, then go fill out and answer these questions. And they went over to a Google Docs survey, and man, I got probably 30 responses. Now, I can't possibly add 30 people into my group. So the next step was for me to actually look through. And some of the questions I asked is, where's your presence online? How long have you been online or been blogging? Are you working for yourself, or are you kind of partway into the process, or are you about to make the jump over into your own work? get out of a mastermind group? I mean, those were several of the questions I asked. And so then I kind of broke those down and distilled those down to about 12 people that I was most interested in talking to. And so the next step of the process is I connected with them. Either I said, I just want to connect with you. I emailed those people. I said, I'd like to connect with you personally for about 30 minutes. And I did that some by phone, some by Skype, some by Hangout. And I was able to, it wasn't an interrogation, it was getting to know them. And as I talked to them on the phone, I was looking and listening for certain things. The best I could, I wanted to listen to see if they were somebody who was ready to be a giver. Were they somebody who wanted to really be a part of a community where they can give and be invested? Another thing that I was listening for personally was what they were hoping to get out of a mastermind group. What are some of the things that they were looking to do in the future? So I could see if it kind of matched the goals of the group. And so from that part, I narrowed it down to about 8 people, 6 or 8 people. I can't remember exactly when I started, how many were there. And then I invited them to be a part of my mastermind group, which leads me to our next point. And again, I see questions coming in. I'm going to get to all these questions, so definitely put your questions in there. And if I'm going too fast, or if you want me to review something, or if you've got specific questions that are popping up, I do want to answer those. And we're going to get to those in just a little bit. Oh, also, I forgot to mention this as well. Not only am I going to do a free giveaway for somebody here tonight to get free access, lifetime access to my new course, but also everybody who's here tonight is going to get a one-page PDF. I'm going to give you the link at the end to my mastermind group guidelines. This one-page PDF guides everything that we do in my mastermind group. I mean, it's powerful. It talks about the purpose of our group, the role of each mastermind member, the weekly meeting, how hot seat assignments work, the attendance expectations for the members in our group. We try to meet live once a year, so we put that in our group guidelines. And also there's group etiquette and dismissal guidelines. So this one-page PDF manages our group and helps our group get to the next level. And so I'm going to give it to everybody that's here tonight in just a little bit as we get to the end. So you've learned a few things. You've listened in order to bring the right people on board. Now let's launch. Now it's time for us to launch. And there's a lot that I could say in this about launching, and I was going over, I mean, I could do an entire webinar on this, but I was really thinking about what would be the best for the people that are coming to this webinar. And the thing that I want to talk about is how to conduct your first meeting. I think it's so important to start off out of the gate well, because people are coming and they're making a judgment call at the very beginning, those first few meetings, as to whether or not this is going to be worth their time or it's a waste of time. And so when it comes to conducting your first meeting, let me just give you some quick tips. First of all, right out of the gate, that very first meeting, I think it's important for you to talk about your vision for the group and the purpose of the group. See, if your group doesn't have a purpose, if you have one guy who wants to sell, maybe he wants to sell franchises. You have another guy over here who's trying to start up a personal fitness gym. Then you've got somebody else who wants to be a realtor. If you're too disjointed, it's going to be difficult because people in the group are going to start feeling like they're not really getting the value they want. You're sharing stuff that isn't applicable to them. And so we have a real clear purpose. Let me just share you, and again, you'll get this in the Mastermind guidelines. But our purpose in our group is this: to grow our platform and business through collaboration, accountability, honest feedback, and shared resources. So we have a clear, defined purpose. So in your first meeting, talk about or give out the purpose for your group. Then, what I would encourage you to do is, and you may have to divide this into the first 2 meetings, but it's important, it's very important that you build community. See, if people are just showing up and one person's dominating the conversation, and it's obvious that this one person's a talker, then your group's going to fizzle out. And so you have to be intentional from the very beginning. So what we did in our group is we divided up the time and we gave everybody an allotment of time to give us the context, to give us, we basically said, give us your past, present, and future in like 10 minutes. And so every person came, and they don't have to necessarily start with where you were born and where you grew up, not that sort of thing. But I started with from the time I graduated college to where I am today and to what I'm looking to do in the future. And then as each group member begins to share that, a bond begins to happen. We begin to have a better understanding of where people have come from, what they're doing right now so that we can help them, because we have a better understanding of where they're heading in the future. And that, to me, looking back, was powerful for us to hear a little bit of that from each of our group members. So conducting that first meeting like that is so important. Now, there's so much else I could say about meetings, and I'll be happy to once we get into some of the questions tonight. So you can bring on the questions, things that you can do in your meeting, just to kind of share some quick tips with you. For us, I love to do what I call highs and lows, because I have people that come on the call and maybe they're on a high, you know, stuff has really happened in their business. Other people are coming on the call and they're discouraged, they're down. We got to get all that out at the very beginning. And so we, in the first few minutes, we call it highs and lows. And we go a round table so that everybody gets a chance to talk. The first 15 minutes is dedicated to sharing your high and low of the week. Another thing we do is we do hot seat assignments. And that's where one person is in focus. And that's the power of a mastermind, is when one person has an opportunity to say, guys, this is what I'm struggling with. And then everybody brings their unique perspective, personality, and skill to the conversation. Powerful things happen all the time. The thing about that for you tonight, if you are not plugged into a mastermind group right now, and you are wanting to do something, maybe like I am right now, maybe you're wanting to launch an online platform, maybe you want to start a business, and in your conversations wants to do the same thing, it can be pretty frustrating and isolating. I know, I'll be honest with you guys, I think there's times where I wore out my wife because I was doing this stuff by myself, and then I'd go and talk to her, and she's just shaking her head like, I don't know half of what you're talking about, but I'm your cheerleader, I'm here for you, but I can't help you. I can be a sounding board, but I can't help you. And so what would think about for a moment what it would feel like right now to bring your biggest constraint, your biggest struggle, your biggest challenge with where you're trying to go right now, and open that up to a group of other people who have been there and they've crossed the other side, and they can give you insight and advice. Is an incredibly powerful place to be, and that's what groups can do. So let me jump into the last point, and then we'll start jumping in and taking some questions and give the free giveaway out as well as the PDF resource. So we've learned some things. We've listened well to get the right members on board. We've launched our group off, but now it's important that we lead it well. See, if you're going to initiate the conversation, you need to be leading it well. And see, I didn't really step into this and own this at the very beginning. So that to me is, you know, it's sort of like when you launch a mastermind group, it's sort of like being the first person to speak on the Survivor TV show. I mean, you just instantly become the leader, whether you want to or not. And I remember that my goal wasn't to be the leader. In fact, many of the group members are capable leaders themselves. Any one of the members in my mastermind group could lead a group and lead my group well. But I'm the one that initiated it. So I had to, after a few weeks, I figured out, I've got to, every single week, I've got to lead the conversation. I've got to keep the conversation moving, or I've got to make these decisions with my group to keep it fresh and interesting and alive. And that is so important for you to accept that role. And so what I want to talk to you about just for a few minutes is 4 ways to lead your group well. Now, these to me is like the magic sauce of a group. I mean, this is the stuff that I'm most excited about. When I look back at my own group, these are the things that make for a really successful group. So let me just give these to you, and you may want to jot these down. First is to lead with generosity. Now, remember I said earlier, the one single factor that's going to determine success is if you have the ability to make generosity the currency of your group. And that's how we communicate. We communicate and we are generous. And so you are going to have to lead that. That means in the beginning, maybe you decide, and I'm using it as an online platform example, maybe you have to decide that you're going to be the one who talks on Facebook, your Facebook fan page about a recent blog post that your other member wrote. Or maybe you invite them to be on your podcast. Or maybe you hold a webinar and showcase them. Or maybe you send out an email list, send out to your email list about something they're doing. Sharing them or talking about them on Twitter. Introducing them to other people you know that would make a great connection for them. See, when you as the leader begin to start that and other people in the group begin to see that happen, it's contagious. It catches on. So lead with generosity. 2, lead with accountability. Now here's what I mean. You have to be willing to make yourself vulnerable in order to grow to the next level. Now, I want you to hear that again, because I think we miss this. Oftentimes we think that we have to become more independent and more self-sufficient and more the expert to get to the next level. I believe differently. I believe that you have to become more vulnerable to grow to the next level. And that is, you have to invite accountability into your life. You have to let people know that this is stuff I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with this, or I'm having a hard time with that. I don't know how to do this. Or I'm really, banging my head up against the wall on how to launch a podcast or how to, webinar or hangout or whatever yours is. I'm using my own examples that I've heard people say in my own group. But you have to lead with that. I'll give you a very specific example. Earlier this year, I went on a 2-week vacation. And when I got home, for the first 3 days, I got back into the mindset of being productive. I had enjoyed my time off. I thought that I was going to be energized about my work because I love my work. I love what I do. But for the first 3 days, man, I struggled. I was wasting time, engaged. I was working at 25% of my capacity, and so I went immediately into my group. Now, there's some online tools that I recommend every group use, whether you're local or you are virtual. We started a Google Plus private community where only our conversations could. And then earlier this year we moved to the Slack app, which is an awesome app, and I'll be talking about that in a little bit. But inside of Slack, you can create categories, and I created one called accountability. And I just went into the group vulnerable and said, guys, the last 3 days, I've been a slacker. I've fallen off the wagon. I haven't done anything. I'm coasting. And so I'm asking you to help me. And so this is what I'm going to do. I am going to post early, first thing in the morning, the stuff that I want to get done today. And by the end of the day, I'm going to report back to you. If you don't hear back from me, you have permission to hunt me down to find out if I did what I was going to say I was going to do. And I did that for the first week or two every day. These are the things I'm going to get done today. And then at night, these are the things I got done. I didn't get this done, and here's why. And then they are open and willing and able to ask me any questions they want. Here's the interesting thing. That simple step that I took has become a phenomenon in our group. Now, we regularly share, all of us, the stuff that we're working on, and we do it when we need that extra boost of accountability. But it's going to start with you as the leader making yourself vulnerable and lead with that accountability. So lead with generosity, lead with accountability. Number 3, lead with feedback. I say, well, what does that mean? Well, one of the amazing benefits of being a part of a mastermind group is the ability to get instant feedback. Maybe it's a logo design that you're working on. Maybe it's a new podcast that you're rolling out. Maybe you are, maybe you're putting up a sales page. You're like, I don't even know if the sales page is going to work. I need your insights. What's wrong with it? Tell me what's going on with it. Maybe it's a keynote. Maybe it's a PowerPoint that's going to go with your keynote, or something you're about to do. And so getting that kind of feedback is so important. And so I recommend, as the leader, encouraging that and willingly offering that to other people, so it creates that feedback that happens in your group. So lead with generosity, lead with accountability, lead with feedback. Last one, lead with promotions. See, from the beginning, condition your members to see the importance of promoting all the other members of the group. Now, my group, I'll give you some specific examples. We've promoted things like our guest post, or if we were on a podcast, like for guest post, I was able to go and do a guest post for Michael Hyatt. And then my group promoted that. I mean, they sent it out to all their Twitter followers, their email list, their Facebook group. Earlier this year, I was able to be on the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast with John Lee Dumas. Same thing. They promoted it. They came over and commented on that post that was linked to that podcast. And I'm just forever grateful for that. Because like I said earlier, all of us together are much more powerful than any one of us apart. And think about this. If you have if the people in your group, and this is specific to online platform, but if you have 6 members in your group that each have 2,000 people on their email list, together you've got 12,000 people to reach out to. Same thing with Twitter, same thing with Facebook. Now, I'm not saying that we always bombard every single day with stuff that's not necessary. I mean, you want to always protect your own audience by making sure it's not something that's completely out of the ordinary. But you need to be willing to lead with promoting as well. So those are the specific ways that you can lead your group well. Well, I see a ton of questions coming in. I'm excited about answering these questions. We're going to get to those in just a minute. I'm going to do that giveaway here in just about 5 minutes. Someone's going to get lifetime access to the Mastermind course. In fact, let me just say something about this course real quick. This course is actually something I've been working on for the last couple months. And I actually was spurred on to do this. I remember I mentioned earlier that one of the members of my mastermind group is a university professor, PhD, and he teaches entrepreneurship at the graduate level. And he said, I'm starting this year to implement the way that you do mastermind groups at the graduate level. And I was like, wow. First of all, it's not just what I've done, because my members of my group have influenced every part of how we function. So I don't want to think for a minute that this was all of my doing, because they have been just as much a part of making this mastermind group as powerful as it has been for us. But I said, he challenged me. He said, you've got to get this out there to more people. You've got to put this out there so that more people can be helped by this. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And so I put it on my marketing calendar, and I had a goal by the September that I was going to make it happen. And so I worked hard to create over 35 step-by-step videos. It goes way into more depth than I have here today. There's checklists in there. There's PDFs. I actually show the actual survey. Actually show you the forum post that I wrote inside of Platform University to get the 35 responses. I walk you through my interview guidelines, the checklist that I went through when I interviewed the members. You actually can see the form of the questions that I asked. I've got our attendance spreadsheet. A lot of people say, well, how do you handle attendance? How do you do that sort of thing? We have an attendance spreadsheet. It keeps track of that. It also keeps track of our high leverage accountable task that we want to be held accountable for the week. I've got a whole document on different ways to manage your group. And so if you have an existing group, that document alone will probably be powerful. And of course, the group meeting guidelines, you're going to get that document here in just a little bit for being on this webinar. But that is in there as well, as long with some videos that walk you through the process. Also, in addition to that, just because I thought it would be so useful, there's actually a keynote that I did at an event in Dallas on mastermind groups. I did an entire talk on the power of a mastermind group. And then I recorded a tutorial video on Slack. The Slack app is incredibly powerful app. It's free, but I show you how I'm using it, how we're using it as a mastermind group. The power of our group goes way beyond our weekly meeting. It's really in that shared resources. We share stuff that we're reading about, stuff that we're doing in our business that's working that other people can do. We get feedback, we share promotions. I mean, it's all in there. And I show you the channels, I show you how everything is set up inside of Slack. Also, I've created another video on Google Hangouts. My group meets every Thursday. I met them today. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock, we're on a Google Hangout. So Google Hangouts is a great way to manage your group. Also, in that same video is how to use a Google Plus private community and how we set it up, and we use that for almost a year and a half as well. So what I'm doing tonight to kind of celebrate the launching of this brand new course is I'm offering the first 20 members tonight, and this is just for the webinar, but the first 20 members tonight can get instant access for only $67. So it's normally at $97. In fact, there's a lot of people who've already purchased this since I launched it last week at the $97 price. But you can get this right now for being on this webinar for just $67. Now, this is only good for 20 people. So I've set the coupon code to only allow 20 people. So once it reaches 20, if the code doesn't work anymore, or if it's not working for you, that's because those first 20 slots are gone. And those slots in the earlier session today were going pretty quickly. I don't know if they will or not tonight. Looks like we have about the same amount of people here in this webinar as we did earlier today. So to get that, all you need to do is go to jonathanmilligan.com/mastermind, and you want to use the coupon code webinar. Just that single word. And I'm also going to pop it up onto your screen if you're in the webinar room and you're watching it from there. Then that is going to pop up as well for you to be able to click on the button and go and check it out. So while that is happening, I want to give someone real quick here a free copy. So I'm going to grab some of these names over here that either were part of sharing on Facebook or commenting on Facebook. So we got quite a bit of shares. I'm going to grab these names as quickly as I can here. I'm going to throw these into a randomizer. All right. So got a lot in here. And here goes the randomizer. The winner is Dwayne Rockensock. So Dwayne, you are the winner. Congratulations, my man. So send me an email. You can send me an email, jonathan@jonathanmilligan.com, and I'm going to give you instant access, free access to this course on mastermind groups. And so let me do this. Let me answer a few questions, and then I'm going to give you, everyone here tonight is going home a winner. That's right. I'm going to give you that actual PDF that is my mastermind group guidelines. And if you walk away with anything, this one-page document is going to be something that I think you're going to really, at least, even if you don't use every part of it, you can tailor it to include the items or to include the content that you want to have in your own. So, all right, so questions are happening on Facebook. You can jump over there and ask a question on the Facebook fan page. You can ask them inside of Google Hangouts. There's a little Q&A box that kind of shows over the video. And then I am looking through the questions that we have in the room here inside the webinar room. So again, if you have questions specifically, maybe your question is about how many group members, maybe the structure, a little bit more of the structure of my meetings, maybe your question is related to Google Hangouts and how that works, or maybe you want, I can show, if you're interested, I can show you the Slack app and show you how we're using it. So any questions you have, ask them away. I'd love to answer them. All right, so let's see. Peggy says, can you have a virtual mastermind group? Well, I probably already answered that for you because you probably asked that earlier. And the answer is yes, that's the way my group is. And that's the awesome power of the internet, is that you can find other people who are passionate about the same thing you're passionate about. And that can be so inspiring. It can lift the lids on your potential. It can encourage you. Because so many times we have this thing that we're passionate about, and then we go and we talk to other people who aren't passionate about the same thing, and it can be discouraging. Well, you need to surround yourself with other passionate people, and that's what Mastermind Groups has done for me. So, got lots of comments in here. Carrie's in here. If you guys don't know Carrie Oberrunner, you need to go check out what he's doing. One of my best favorite books that I've read this summer is from Carrie on Day Job to Dream Job. Just go over to Amazon right now and pull that up. Day Job to Dream Job, Carrie Oberrunner. That book is worth the read. It's not just about inspiring stories, but he lays out a plan, a 9-step plan for going from your day job to your dream job. So Carrie said, thrilled to be here. You're incredibly competent in the subject. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate your friendship. Mike says, what you say is interesting, but where to start? Yeah, I would say, Mike, and maybe it would help me, Mike, if I knew a little bit more about, the direction you're trying to go, like where you're trying to head. But I think it really starts, Mike, with where are the people, where are your potential members already hanging out? Again, like I said earlier, is it a conference? Then you need to go to that conference. Is it at a networking event, a local networking event? Is it a forum online? Is it behind a paid membership where there's a forum or community of people who are like-minded? That's where you start, and you start by that survey. You put a forum post or a link somewhere, you email certain people, invite them to fill out a simple survey. Tracy says, do members have to be our friends? Tracy, this might sound funny, but my mastermind group, I started with complete strangers. I didn't know one person in that mastermind group. And even the first call is like, wow, here's 6 or 8 people, and we know nothing about each other. But we do know that we all have a passion for a similar thing. And that was the spark. That's the spark that we needed. So the answer is no. Now, it doesn't mean that later on you can't add people that you become friends with. That's happened for us. I added someone who was a friend of mine that I've known for a little while, but again, he was heading in a similar direction. And we've added another member who is a friend of one of the members. Rocky says, how difficult is it for you to reject someone that wants to be in your mastermind? Once you put it out there that you're looking for members, is it tough to turn people away? Yeah, that's not always the easy part, Rocky. Basically, the way I phrased it in the forum post is I actually put it out there that the way I kind of said it was I didn't really tell them I'm going to look through all 30 of these and handpick the ones I want. So, sit and wait for the email. No, they didn't know that process. Basically, the way I shared it was I said, if my group fills up and there's more people that want to be part of a mastermind group, then I'd be happy to try to facilitate that. In other words, make connections with people. So if, for the other people, I just kind of help them to make connections with one another to form their own mastermind group. So they don't have to necessarily know that they've been picked or not been picked. It's more like it's already been filled, kind of a thought. Lori says, what are your thoughts on paid mastermind groups? Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that have done those. I would say be careful about paying into them unless you are at a place and at a level that matches where you want to be. In other words, if you're, I guess an example would be, if you're still contemplating on, let's say that you want to be a pro blogger. If you're still contemplating on what your domain name's going to be and what you're going to actually write about, buying into a $15,000 mastermind group isn't going to guarantee success for you. So, but if you're at a place where you have reached a plateau in your business and what you're trying to do, then it can be a good thing. So it just depends on the situation. Oh, I see what you're saying. So Lori says, it's been a struggle to put together people for unpaid groups, and I wonder if by making people pay something, some people would be more accountable and not flake out. Yeah, I know people that do that, Lori. My group's free, and I don't know. I just think that, that interview process that I went through was helpful for me to be able to determine whether somebody really had the passion for a mastermind group, if that's something that they were going to try to be committed to. But you certainly could go that route and give that a try. Shirley says, for virtual groups, how do you manage people in different time zones? Yeah, so that is why we typically have our meetings around 4 o'clock, because I have one of our guys in the mastermind group is actually in the Netherlands, and he's well known in the Netherlands for his productivity seminars. If you know anything about getting things done, stuff like that, he does that very well, and so we love having him be a part of the group. We put it at 4 o'clock because it's like 9 o'clock his time. And also, we've got somebody in California, and so it's 1 o'clock their time. So literally we have it across the whole spectrum. So I think putting it in the mid-afternoon or toward the end of the afternoon, again, it depends on where you are. But for me, now let me just say this, because I talk about this in the course. When I first started, Shirley, I really wanted to try to make it, I thought it would be better to use a group scheduling feature, like this online group scheduling feature where everybody goes in and says the time they have available this week, and then for that particular week, I pick the one that was going to work the best. In my mind, I was thinking that that's going to get more people to show up because they've already said that they have that time open. Especially for me, I was dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of speakers, people that are traveling and doing different things. But what I found was they didn't have the ability to prioritize it. So after a couple of weeks of doing that, we finally just said, guys, we've got to lock in on a day and a time, and we're just going to commit to that thing. And it took a couple of weeks after that, but now everybody knows Thursday at 4 o'clock. Nothing goes on my calendar. They see it as the most important time in their week, and that's what makes for a great group. So a little bit of advice there. Philip says, thoughts. Would a mastermind work in a corporate team environment? Team that may have already been chosen to work together. I know maybe not the most ideal. Yeah, that can be tough, Philip, because you got people who basically they're hired to be obedient, for lack of better words, and so they're going to do things. I mean, it depends on the company and the culture, because there's cultures that are so different. It potentially could work inside of a culture that has a real relationship-driven type culture, and people feel the freedom to speak. But oftentimes, a lot of times in corporate environment, people are afraid to really be honest, give honest feedback, and speak because they feel like their job's tied to it, and that can be a struggle. Not something you can't overcome, but I think that can be a struggle. Rocky says, I see the value in both a local and virtual mastermind. Are you involved in a local mastermind at all? No, I'm not, Rocky. I'm hoping that somehow, someday, I'll meet people in my local area that I can meet up with. I think that would be fun. But right now, no. Now, that being said, there's several things that we've done. Like one of my group members lives in Greenville, South Carolina. Another one lives in Birmingham, Alabama. And then, of course, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. And the three of us figured out that Macon, Georgia was exactly in the middle of all three of us. So you know what we did? We drove up in the middle of the week one time. We all got there by lunchtime at a hotel. We got a conference room, and we did a 24-hour mastermind. And I'm not kidding you. We walked out of there after 24 hours of being just totally 100% invested in each other. We all walked out of there with at least 8 to 10 items that we were going to tackle over the next couple months. And it was powerful. And so that's one thing that we did. The other thing is we started pushing towards, in January, doing a retreat, a mastermind group, everyone get together locally. And we're kind of setting our sights possibly on Orlando in January, and probably rent out one of those vacation homes with the pool and invest in each other for a couple days and really help one another. So it can be done, but that's a little bit about what we're doing. Peggy says, after a group is started, and by the way, before I answer that question, and I'm going to take maybe one more additional question after this, and then I'm going to give the PDF to my mastermind group guidelines. So if you're wondering if I've forgotten about that, I have not. I'm going to post that after I take 2 more questions. And then we'll have a little after party for a few minutes, and I'll answer whatever remaining questions you have as well. And let's see here. And by the way, I was going to say there's already several people that have taken up on the offer for tonight. So welcome to Pamela, welcome to Tip, welcome Will, welcome to Chuck and Tracy, Mary Jane and Shauna, Sarah, Michelle. So those 20 slots are filling up fast. Looks like there probably still are a few more if you want to get in on that offer tonight. We got just a couple more minutes to be able to jump in and get that. Again, just use webinar as your code so that you can get it at the $67 price. All right, so back to Peggy's question. After a group is started, couldn't a new member disturb a delicate balance? Great question, Peggy. And the answer is yes. And this does make it hard. Now, since I've started my group, over the course of the last 2 years, we've added three new members. And each of them were very thoughtful. Each of them were very, with a lot of insight from the rest of the members. And here's what we did, Peggy. What we've done is, when we're at the place where we think we want to bring in a new member, first of all, we have the person in the group who's thinking about inviting someone else into the group tell us a little bit about why they should be a part of our group. And not so much that we're interrogating them, but they have an understanding already of what our group culture is like. Like, my group culture is very, I mean, we laugh, we joke, and we know each other's spouses, we know our kids. I mean, we've shared prayer requests. I mean, we've gone through stuff together in our mastermind group. And so we're close. We're a close-knit group. So bringing in somebody is potentially, it could disrupt something that's good. And so what we actually do is we first of all have them kind of talk it through, and then if the group members are in agreement, what we do is we just ask that person, we more or less say, why don't you come and hang out with us for one meeting, just to see if that's something that you'd like to be a part of. And we do that so that we can get a feel for them, but we don't tell them that we're necessarily, it's an interview, but it sort of is in a way, to see how their dynamic's going to fit in the group, or if it's going to disrupt the culture. And so from that, then we'll go back to the group again and say, hey group, what do you guys think? Think this person would make a good member of the group? Yes, no, that sort of thing. All right, I've been ignoring questions over here on Google+. I need to see if we even have any over here that's happening. So I apologize if you got some questions happening over here. Looks like mostly comments there. So we look on the Facebook fan page. Lots of great comments. Terrence is enjoying all the information you offer. I'm learning so much. Dwayne says, excellent content. I've been tossing this idea around for a long time. I need to make this happen. Luann says, there are some mastermind groups entirely online. I live in a very rural area. Yes, Luann, that's the power of the internet these days, is you could live in a total rural area and not only have an awesome business online, but also be able to have a mastermind group. Looks like we got several other comments going on there. So let me give out the link, and then I'll see if you guys have any other questions. If not, we'll kind of wrap things up here tonight. So this link I'm about to share with you in the chat box is my actual mastermind guidelines. We cover the purpose of our group, the role that a mastermind member plays, and what you're gonna see. And I'm really, when I give you this, I want you to see this, and I want to tell you this before I give it to you. But I want you to really look for the verbiage on how much we build in that creating the currency of generosity, because we really want our group members to catch that. In fact, these mastermind guidelines, let me just say this, it's not something that I wrote myself. I actually did write this document, but it came from the influence of everyone else. One of the most powerful things you can do, right now, if you say, I have a mastermind group, but I want to get to the next level, this right here I'm about to tell you is the most profound thing that you can do, because it was true for us, is I did an anonymous survey. And I cover this a little bit more in depth in the course, but I did an anonymous survey where members can be completely honest, and I asked them questions. What is working well? What is not working well? In your opinion, what would it take to get our group to get to the next level? What things should we stop doing? What do you, in your mind, what is cause for dismissal from the group? And so I took all of those things. I asked them too. I said, what do you believe is the purpose of our group? Because I'm curious if we've got one person in the group that's totally in left field, or if we're all kind of in a general same area. And I took all of that and I put it into this one PDF document that I'm about to share with you. And this document is the thing that guides us. So I'm going to put that in chat. You guys are welcome to have that. And then it is coming your way right now. And then you can click on that. You can save that as a PDF, put it in Evernote, save it on your desktop, print it off, use it. Again, it's not perfect, but it's a simple yet powerful tool that we are using. So yeah, so I may have skipped over. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody's question here. Kind of scrolled through here pretty quickly. If you have any other questions about mastermind groups, now's the time to ask before we wrap things up. All right. So while I'm waiting to see if there's any more questions coming in, real quick, let me do something that I think might be a benefit for the whole group here real quick. Let's let you peek into the Slack app where we use it for mastermind groups. Now the Slack app is originally designed for teams. A lot of teams are virtual today, or maybe even in a corporate environment. It can be a great tool. And so let me do a screen share of this, because we actually use this Slack app with our mastermind group. So let me show that to you. All right, so you're looking inside here. You can see over here on the left side is you have all these different channels. These are channels that you can create yourself. And so the one I'm on is the feedback. And feedback is where we can post different things that we are working on. Like here is the raw version of a new blogging success pyramid that I've been working on teaching somebody how to go from having a hobby blog to becoming a pro blogger. And so I took this concept and I actually used 99 designs, and many of the group members came can't click over there because you probably won't be able to see it. But they came over and voted, gave me insight onto my design. So that was helpful. And so this is the kind of conversations that are happening here. One of the guys, Brian Dixon, if you guys don't know about Brian, he's amazing. He's in our mastermind group. He just recently launched a new podcast called The Content Creator Show. If you want to learn about membership sites, Facebook ads, retargeting, autoresponders, how to set up automatic funnels, any type of online marketing, this guy is super knowledgeable. He just launched a new podcast, so he's getting our feedback on it. And he's also, another cool thing he's doing is he is recording YouTube videos, or he's recording video at the same time he's doing his podcast so that he can repurpose his content to also show up over on YouTube. So we're just giving him some thoughts and feedback on that. But we share, here's the accountability tag, insights about blogging. We share a list of books that we're reading, stuff related to business, accounting, finance, taxes, our in-person meetup channel. When we launch a new course, we get feedback on stuff that we're doing, list building, stuff that we're working on, our mastermind call. One cool feature about Slack is Google Hangouts is integrated inside of Slack. So group members can come to the mastermind call and join the Hangout. Resources and stuff about podcasting, promotions. Another cool thing is you can do direct messages. So I can direct message anybody. And again, you have an iPhone app, you have the iPad app, an Android app. There's a desktop version for Mac, is what you're looking at right now. There's also one for PC. And so we don't ever have to worry about emailing each other. We can just do it all inside of here. Makes it nice and simple. So that's just a quick overview of how, a little bit about how we're using the Slack app. And of course, I am inside the course. I have a whole tutorial on how we're using that. So yeah. Well, I'm not sure if we got any other questions in here. Shirley says, is it really important to keep the content of the group private within the group? Yes, it really is. You got to create a place of safety. So you can't get to authenticity until you get a place of safety. See, when you can get to a place of safety in the group, and you know that I can be totally honest and open about whatever it is that I'm struggling with, I can take off the guru mask that so many people want to wear and say, here's the areas in my business or in my life where I'm struggling. And you create that place of safety. It's a powerful thing, and you want to protect that at all costs. So that is extremely important. So, all right, I think that's all that I see here tonight. So again, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I know depending on where you are, it might be late, or maybe it's in the middle of your evening, maybe it's during supper, maybe you sacrificed watching your favorite show in order to be on here tonight. I truly hope that you got some value. I am going to be sending out the replay tomorrow, so if you got here late and you wanted to catch the first part of it, you'll be able to watch this entire replay. It's there for you to watch. And I really, truly hope that you learned something tonight about mastermind groups. And if you're in the course, I can't wait to talk with you. If you've never taken one of my courses, underneath every single video training is a comment section. I check it every single day. So it's not like I'm just going to abandon you and throw you to the content, but I am seriously committed to helping you launch your mastermind group. You can share whatever questions you want. But if you choose to run and take this material that I've shared and launch off on your own, then do that. And I'm excited for you to do that. I know the power that mastermind groups has done for what they've done for me. I know what they've done for other members in my group, and I want that for you. So surround yourself around other passionate people that are headed in the direction you want to go. Do you have a circle of wisdom? If you're not currently in a circle of wisdom and you're left isolated and without feedback, that's a dangerous place to be. Surround yourself with other passionate people. That's what's going to help you to get yourself to the next level. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Good night.